Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about peer-to-peer and client-server networks. First, we're going to start with client-server network. In your school, you will be able to use your files on computers in different buildings. This is because they are not stored on the computer that you are using, but are on a file server. What is a file server? A file server is a device which controls access to separately stored files as a part of a multi-user system. The server is a specialized computer with a different role from the normal PC. There will probably be a web server to host the school's external website and an email server which receives all emails and distributes them to a network users. So, it may detect and block incoming emails that it thinks are spam. In a large network, it's common to have shared files and resources on centralized servers. The computers that you see around schools are referred to as clients. So, in a client-server network, this server is a powerful computer which provides services or resources required by any of the clients, while the client is a computer which requests the services or resources provided by the server. Now, we will continue to the next part is peer-to-peer configuration. In smaller offices with a handful of computers, it's not practical or cost-effective to have a specialized server or someone to run the network. The computers will simply be cabled or wirelessly connected together. Each computer is configured, so it will share specified files and folders with other peer computers on the LAN. So PCs on LAN can only access files on another computer if access rights have been granted. This is called peer-to-peer network because all of the computers have equal status and the same role in the computer. So, the differences between client-server and peer-to-peer is that client-server has a central backing store is available to all computers, while peer-to-peer storage facilities are distributed across all computers. Security is controlled by the central computer in client-server, while security is not centrally controlled in peer-to-peer. The third point is backup is done centrally on the server, while backup must be done separately for each computer on peer-to-peer network. A client server can support hundreds or even thousands of users and grow with an organization, while in peer-to-peer, easy to set up but most suited to homes and small businesses.
In this video, we explore wired and wireless networks. We think about the different roles of a computer in a client server and a peer-to-peer network. A server is a special computer on a network that is not used as a workstation, but is a computer dedicated to serving files and managing services. Both local and wide area networks can operate either with a server or without a server. A network that uses a server is called a client-server model. A network that does not use a server is called a peer-to-peer model. With a client-server model, the server controls access and security to one shared file store. A server manages access to the internet and other connections. A server manages print jobs. And it provides services such as email. A server runs backup of data, and the client makes requests of the server for data and connections that it needs. You'll find that most larger local area networks will be using a client-server type approach. The advantages of a client-server model are that it's easier to manage security of files. The server has to authenticate users who log into it. It's easier to take backups of all shared data because the file store is connected to the server and not to the individual workstations, although they'll still have their own hard drives. It's easier to install software updates to all computers. The disadvantages of a client-server model are that it can be expensive to set up and maintain. You usually require IT specialists in order to keep control of the network and to manage it. The server is a single point of failure. Users will lose access if the server fails, and this is the biggest shortcoming of a client-server model. A peer-to-peer model is an alternative to the client-server model on a network. Here you don't have any server, and quite often this is what happens in a home computer situation where you have many devices that can share and connect to each other, but you don't have a central server that's managing that. A peer is a computer on the network, and it's equal to all other peers. Peers serve their own files to each other, and each peer is responsible for its own security. Each peer is also responsible for its own backup. Peers usually have their own printers, and you can send print jobs to another peer to process, but that peer would need to be switched on to be able to communicate with the connected printer. The key advantages of a peer-to-peer model are that it's very easy to maintain. You don't require any specialist staff. There's no dependency on a single computer, so you don't have a single point of failure. It's cheaper to set up. There's no expensive hardware required. The disadvantages are that the network is less secure, because you don't have a single central server that's authenticating users. Each client needs to authenticate itself. Users will need to manage their own backups, and it can be difficult to maintain a well-ordered file store if peers are sharing files with each other.